Like a
no, I know the commissioner's in there, and I wanted to ask him a question. I was pulling it up here. It's good morning, Commissioner. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Doing good.
I wasn't ignoring you, and certainly not with Colonel Ginn there. So I was just going to start off and ask you about this question as far as the good commissioner of agriculture who tweeted this out a few minutes ago about the carry law. The Mississippi can now read all of the 445 pages of the Senate medical marijuana bill. It is posted. I forgot what the page number or what the bill number is. One thing he said, I did not expect. I don't think most Mississippians would expect the Senate bill would authorize marijuana users to carry concealed weapons on the line 5879 of the bill. So, as far as the Commissioner of Public Safety, any thoughts on that?
I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I'll certainly get in my office when I leave here and take a look at that. It's, a bit concerning when you are authorizing anybody that's under the influence of alcohol or any sort of drugs to be carrying a weapon concealed, especially in that manner. So we'll take a look at it and see what's going on.
How's first of all, Colonel Ginn, how are you doing, sir?
Doing very well, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Anybody else? Anybody got COVID in the family there? Everything's okay, or are you working half staff, or what's the status of that?
We've got some folks that have COVID. It's kind of spreading like wildfire, but I will say the symptoms seem to be a lot milder than the other variants that we've had to deal with in the past, and folks are going home for a couple of days a week and then coming back to work. And my admin assistant had it about 2 weeks ago, and she went home for about 4 or 5 days, and she was back at work. So
I think yesterday, and it's running about the same thing every day, give or take a little bit, but it's 5,737 in the last report yesterday, the report of the COVID testing yesterday. We had 20 deaths, but again, those were over I think a 4-day period, so take that into consideration. Well, we're talking about Cadet Class 66. Tell me about that.
Well, we're really excited about this class. It's a little bit different spin on the traditional format in which we've done, in that it's focusing directly on those that have at least 2 years of prior certified law enforcement experience. And it's going to be a little bit of a shorter class under the premises that they've already learned all the basic academy stuff. And so we're going to focus on the things that it takes to make them troopers. So our folks are out there recruiting, and we're hopeful that we're going to have a nice sized class, and one that can really replenish the annual retirements that we're having every year. You know, we have anywhere from 25 to 40 retirees and resignations every year, and trying to keep our forces up to a standard level. So, and that's really the purpose of this class, and hoping to go out there and get some good certified law enforcement officers to join the highway patrol ranks.
The number designation that I'm looking at, Colonel Ginn, is 66. That means that this is the 66th class? Is that it, or you got 66 candidates?
It is the 66th class, Paul. Since
is that right?
Inception of the patrol, it'll be our 66th recruit class.
I guess you will also just inform the folks of this audience across the state that just because this is kind of an abbreviated form, no shortcuts are taking as far as the preparation of a fully qualified highway patrolman or highway patrol woman on the highways.
That's correct, Paul. We don't want to shortchange anything that is vital to the officer's survival or to the service that we give to the public. So we want to ensure that they're fully trained, fully prepared, and our training staff is committed to that. And as the commissioner said, we're looking at this as a way to offset some of our retirements and to give this new method of a patrol school a shot. Some of the other states have done it with varied success, and the legislature saw fit to give us the opportunity to do it, so we're taking advantage of that.
And
Commissioner, is it full now? Is it open, or is it full? Or when does it give me some dates on it and completions and things such as that?
The deadline to apply is January 21st, and I think last count we had about 140, 150 applications that are out. So the applications are starting to come in. And it takes a little bit of work. So if somebody wants to apply, I would encourage them to go ahead and pick up their application, because they got to get their high school transcripts, birth certificates, other documents together that they've got to fill out. And it's not really something that you do overnight. So it's good to go ahead and pick it up, and that way you can have it ready to go on January 21st. And I'll say this, I mean, Mississippi Highway Patrol is the largest law enforcement agency in the state. Department of Public Safety has more law enforcement agency than any other agency in the state. So it's really a good family to be a part of. You look at the retirement for troopers. There's nothing you can compare to it in the state. I mean, it's a great opportunity for somebody to come and make a career and set themselves up to live comfortably for the rest of their life if they'll make a sacrifice for the citizens of the state of Mississippi.
But again, the applicants coming up on this class, as far as Class 66, the Cadet Class 66, they have to have some law enforcement experience already going into this?
That's right. And look, the reality is in the past, most of our classes had a number of already certified law enforcement officers in them. Mm-hmm. So we started looking and talking about, well, how much are they repetitive training are they doing by coming in and already being certified? And there are ways that we could save some money, do a good job, get them trained to be troopers, and save time on some of the basic training stuff that we were already doing. And so it seemed to make sense and a way for us to recruit those that are already out there serving.
I think it's a great idea. The other part of this is January 21st, you said is a cutoff. Is there capacity? How many people you're going to accept in the class? I think you said this, but how many is it total?
We're looking at accepting about 45 to start the class. Yes.
So normally that means you need about 150 to 200 applicants for the most part.
I think that's about right.
Before you whittle them down to 45.
That's right. That's on the average. We take about the top 25 or 30% that apply.
The start date of the classes are going to be once the deadline passes. Colonel Ginn, when do you start the classes?
We will start the class May the 15th, I believe it is, middle of May.
May the 15th.
Yes, sir.
They have plenty of time to get everything in order. And how long will they be in class? How long is the training?
This is a 12-week school. They'll graduate early August. So it'll be 12 weeks. It'll be Sunday through Thursday with a few Fridays thrown in. If you remember the last class we graduated, they stayed 4 weeks at a time because of COVID. So we're not looking to do that this time. This will be a more normal schedule for them, but it'll be 12 weeks.
I was going to say, Commissioner, when you start, when you look at this, some of the applicants that may not make it, but they're good, they're good folks. They just may not have made it for one reason or another. Do they possibly find positions elsewhere in that law enforcement area within the state? Is that a possibility that if you're looking for a good applicant for something else, that they may apply?
We're certainly looking at ways that we can make those offers. The reality is now that we have Capitol Police within our divisions and the Commercial Transportation Enforcement Division, MBN, Homeland Security. We have other law enforcement agencies that we can offer them opportunities if they don't make the patrol school. And so and those things happen for a variety of reasons. And sometimes it's a physical condition that might prevent them from getting in patrol school, but they might make a really good MBN agent or perhaps a Capitol Police officer. So, yeah, absolutely, we're looking at ways to bring them in.
What about MPs?
Can
you get in class as far as with military police experience? Would that also count?
It does not at this time, Paul. Minimum Standards doesn't issue a certificate based on the military training, so they have to meet the Mississippi Minimum Standards Board for law enforcement.
Yeah, we have this NCAA transfer portal. If we could use that for maybe some Tennessee cops or anybody else, that would apply to them, wouldn't it?
It would, yes, sir. We're crafting our class to meet those requirements to help them be certified in Mississippi.
I'm not sure on what board we would post that. I'm sure it's not on the NCAA, but if we could get that word out to some people that want to use the transfer portal, we'll let you use the NIL in any way you want to, one way or the other.
And we are accepting out-of-state transfers, and so that is an opportunity that folks can come in from out of state and be a part of this, and so.
You and I talked about the salary, and I know that's one of the objectives that you want to do is get the salary up. What's the starting salary? What is in the legislative minutia that may increase that salary? Let's talk about some of the funds coming in from the federal government. Can it be used? Update on the Highway Patrol Center, that is what the status is. We'll find out all that. Lots more to talk to. Commissioner of Public Safety Sean Tindell and Colonel Randy Ginn. Then Brandy Lum, CEO Mississippi Prison Industries, nonprofit organization founded back in 1990, has some big news. They are changing their name. We'll talk about that more coming up at 8:05 on a hump day. Back with more next. CIC, the good commissioners in the House. Public Safety Sean Tindell with Colonel Randy Ginn. And let me give you this opening quick shot story here. Last year, Governor Tate Reeves signed new parole reform into law. This year, state senators and representatives say that they hope to keep this momentum around criminal justice policies going. Under last year's law, about 600 prisoners became eligible for parole. There are over 19,000 people incarcerated in the state. There are so far 20 bills in the House Corrections Committee, and the committee typically meets about Wednesday this morning at 10 o'clock. But I know you guys work hand in hand with that. Any comments on that, or where your influence and you and Colonel Ginn with the Department of Public Safety and the Highway Patrol as far as parole, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, you know, I mean, a lot of times when it comes to that, and I know the emphasis over there is being a little bit smarter on how we incarcerate folks and the length we do it, and you know, Governor Reeves always has a great saying: we got to figure out who we're mad at and who we're scared of, and those that we're mad at, we got to punish, but figure out a way to get them back and be productive members of society. So hopefully that's what's happening. Our biggest concern, and one of the things that catches our attention is when folks get out on parole and they abscond or they quit showing up, because obviously those are bad actors and ones that haven't learned to listen and don't function in society. And if you remember, about a year and a half ago, there was somebody that had gotten out on earned release supervision and had failed to report and ended up getting in a shootout with a trooper that cost that trooper his life. And so really that's where it catches our attention, is when these violent criminals are getting out and under what circumstances.
You look at the Department of Public Safety, we always talk about this, Bud, and it's not untrue on some of the other agencies too, but it's massive what is under the responsibility of the Department of Public Safety. Beside Colonel Ginn and the guys at the Highway Patrol, I mean, you got the MBI, you've got, I could go on and on. And I know that one of the things that you did, and you told me you were going to do this on the last show, you've appointed somebody new for the forensic lab.
We did. Mary Duke started on January 3rd. You know, and like I've done with every open position we have interviews. We go out and try to find the right people for the job, not just the job for the person. And that's a prime example. We interviewed a number of people and kind of felt that it would be good to have some outside influence at the Mississippi Crime Lab. So she comes from she's originally from Louisiana, worked at the Louisiana State Crime Lab, but has experience in private labs across the country. And so we felt like bringing that vast experience would be really good for our Mississippi Crime Lab. And I understand she's hit the ground running. So really proud of the work she's doing.
She's been on the ground for several days. She hasn't solved all the problems yet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just, you know, it just snap your fingers and it's done.
Let me talk about the Highway Patrol with Colonel Ginn and also the starting salaries. What are we talking about starting salaries, and what are we going to do about upping those? We talked about teachers and everybody else, but what are we going to nurses? What are we going to do as far as Highway Patrolmen marching forward? And will we see a raise this year? What for any of the candidates that come out of this? Hopefully, all 45. What's the starting salary, and what's the pitch to these prospective candidates out there that this is a good deal?
Well, a starting salary for a trooper is going to be around $41,600, $41,800 in that neighborhood, with opportunities for them to work some overtime details through federal callbacks and other programs that we have available to them. Hopefully, through the session, the legislature will and the governor will find a way to increase that starting salary. We find that's a little bit short of our surrounding states, and as we go through with longevity, we fall behind pretty quickly with the other states around us. So we feel like it would be very beneficial for our recruiting and our retention to raise those numbers.
Hard to get that transfer portal going when they're leaving a better job, and it's not very good, Commissioner. What is something like Tennessee? What do they make as starting salary Highway Patrolman?
We looked at all those averages. I want to say Tennessee was around 45 or 46.
So it's not that far out of balance.
Well, that's a 10% pay increase, and
Yeah.
and then when you look at some of the in-state law enforcement agencies, I know some of the municipalities are starting off for a non-certified law enforcement officer, and these are in-state municipalities, Mississippi, over 50,000. And so for us, we feel like the starting salary for a Mississippi Highway State trooper ought to be starting at 50,000, and that puts us in a competitive range with not just our neighboring states and troopers there, but police departments within our state. And the reality is, this is Mississippi's law enforcement agency. They serve the citizens of Mississippi across the state, and we need that. And I feel like it's so imperative when we talk about teacher pay raises, and those are important, or nurses, more money for the nurses, those are important. I think about the founding of this country, and the core function in the founding of this country was public safety. That's why government is put together, is to make sure the citizens are taken care of and they're safe. And in Mississippi, that's law enforcement. And since that is the core function, I would ask that the legislature consider that, these folks that are putting their lives on the line every single day. And we look at what happened a year and a half ago, and it's had a direct impact on the number of applications we've had coming in. And that's across the entire state and across the entire country. And then you look at inflation. Somebody can go work at Hobby Lobby earning $36,000 a year, and they don't have to come to work at Sunday, and they don't get shot at on Friday night. So, if we're going to remain competitive, we need to be able to offer that salary in that $50,000 range.
You put it that way, it makes Hobby Lobby look like a better deal. I don't know. When you come to work, you don't have to get shot at. You're absolutely right. One of the things we're talking about also, we're talking about highway patrolmen, but there are other jobs within the confines of the Department of Public Safety, and probably also within the highway patrol, behind the desk and many other things. But I was looking at the top 10 overall jobs here, and man, software developer, data scientist, statistician, there are so many things now that you have to have some skill as far as an education or training to do. It's just, if you don't, there are not many jobs available. But within the Highway Patrol or Department of Public Safety, there are many other jobs, I'm sure. But how are you guys? Do you need some employees there other than highway patrolmen?
Absolutely. I mean, even at our crime lab, we're short on personnel. The medical examiner's office, we've been short on MEs. We've got to recruit doctors to work there. We're trying to get a cybersecurity division going at Homeland Security, so we're meeting with Mississippi State and trying to find a cyber director. I know in the Mississippi Highway Patrol, they've been getting a digital forensic unit off the ground. And so there's all kinds of opportunities for folks that come to work there. And then there's certain skill sets that we've got to have. And it's not always the guy on the road, but really even the guy on the road, that job has changed over the last 30 years. They've got to be able to work on computers and do a whole host of things that are a lot more than just writing tickets than what we saw years ago. Reconstructionists and putting crime scenes together as far as crime scene units. There's just a whole host of things that need to be done, and it takes a certain skill set to get it done.
Commish, I know you were very active in the last legislative session. There was a lot of things, and when we've had that first visit with you as being appointed commissioner, there were some goals that you set forth, and kudos to you. There were a lot of things we're talking about: skip the line, online renewal, just a lot of different things you wanted to do with a driver's license bureau that was in total chaos at that particular time. And most people thought, you might be biting off more than you could chew, but we've come a long way. What do you want to see now in the 2022? What bills do you guys have going through, and what's your game plan for this session?
I've got one game plan, and it's to get these troopers and MBN agents and the law enforcement agents at the Department of Public Safety a pay raise, and I've put that as my only real goal for this session. We've got some other ancillary things that are relatively small, but my one focus is getting that done for those men and women that serve this state. And hopefully it'll be a situation where local law enforcement agencies follow, and the rising tide will raise all the ships, and it'll have an impact for all first responders across the state. Beyond that, we do want to help get the death benefits for law enforcement officers that have died of COVID. I'm looking at some possibilities of ways that we can have a statewide life insurance program for all first responders, so that they don't just have to die in the line of duty. They can, if they die for any reason, their family will get that $100,000.
You got a price tag on that? You're a former legislator. You know that's what they're going to ask you. You know what an annual price tag is on that?
I think we're looking at about $2.2 million to cover every law enforcement officer and first responder in the state for a $100,000 life insurance policy.
With the budget that we have, that sounds pretty darn good. Can you give us final thoughts when we come back in a moment or two?
Absolutely.
Sean Tindell, Colonel Randy Ginn, there we go. We'll be back with final segment coming up next. January, Commissioner, Department of Public Safety Sean Tindell and Colonel Randy Ginn. Here's what I was talking about. The U.S. News and World Report named the top jobs of 2022. Give you an idea what we were talking about. You have to have some training. Information Security Analyst was named the best overall job this year. The magazine projects there will be 47,100 new jobs in this field that they're looking for, and the median salary is $103,590. So there you go, just to give you an idea. Final thoughts from Colonel Randy Ginn as far as the legislative session and marching ahead as far as the classes are concerned.
Well, Paul, I would say anybody that's interested in Class 66, they can look at our social media and go to our website to get recruiting information. But our social media will also have a listing of open house recruiting events at each troop substation. Some of them have already had it. Some of them are still having it coming up this week and into the weekend. And if they would like to go talk to a recruiter or some troopers or captains, I would encourage them to come do that to find more about the opportunities that exist within the patrol and what kind of career they've got the access to if they just take that step.
And that's on the Department of Public Safety's website?
The recruiting information is on the website, on the Highway Patrol Facebook, Twitter, and other social media accounts. They can find that schedule, and we'll make sure the recruiters get that reposted, and they can contact a recruiter at any of those email addresses that will go with that, and we'll hook them up.
And again, January 21st, so you don't have a lot of time. You need to make a decision. January 21st is the deadline for that qualifications or to enter your name, or I guess in all the information.
Yes, sir.
All right, Commissioner, your final thoughts, sir.
No, I want to thank our team at the Department of Public Safety. Colonel Ginn and his folks just do an excellent job. Every time I see the work that the Highway Patrol does and our other divisions, I'm just so impressed with the folks that we have working there. I really feel like whether it's driver services or Homeland Security or NBN or NBI or Capitol Police or CTED, everybody's hearts in making Mississippi a better place to live, and I'm proud of the people that work for DPS, and I'm proud of our leadership, and hoping that we can get the best results for them that we can.
Sean, I was just thinking, what is this going to mean for future generations who serve within the Department of Public Safety to have a new location all under one roof when this thing is completed?
Well, and that's our other big ask is to have a new headquarters buildings for DPS. It'll be the first time ever that we've been able to put all our divisions. And you look at what happened after 9/11, one of the big things discussion was making sure everybody was communicating and law enforcement was sharing information. And it helps us do that when we can put our NBN and our NBI and our Homeland Security and our Highway Patrol and our CTED under one roof so that all our leadership is communicating on a daily basis.
So what do you need to make that happen now? I mean, you have to have the funding hasn't already been secured? It
has not. The designs have been completed. We're looking at hopefully getting a deficit appropriation so that it can proceed to bid. With everything, the cost is going up. Building costs are going up constantly. So it's going to take about a $39 million appropriation to get this building going. But when you look at the transformative nature of the project and what it really means for public safety in Mississippi, it's vital. And you look at the location we're in now, love the building. It's a perfect spot to be in. But unfortunately, it's fallen into the ground, and it's been in disrepair for 20 years because we've been planning on building new headquarters, and now is the time to get this done.
When you look at, do we as a state of Mississippi own those buildings, or are we contracting them out or leasing them, or what? We own those buildings, and the state of Mississippi will own this building. And you look at that location and where we are now, the reality is that might be one of the most high-profile locations in the state at the corner of Woodrow Wilson and 55. And the highest, best use of that property is probably commercial, not being the headquarters of the Department of Public Safety and Highway Patrol. So, do we have a value on that, the land itself?
They've done some evaluations. They've looked at possibly selling it or doing some long-term leases, possibly a hotel or something of that nature that would serve the Children's Hospital and the Veterans Hospital right there at that corner.
All you want for it is maybe $39 million.
Maybe a little more. I'm not going to sell myself short.
Okay. No, you asked for more and you settled for 39. Guys, always a pleasure. We thank you so very, very much. Are we on tap for what you want to do with the driver's license, everything? Any final report on that?
No, I think that things are going great there. Of course, the mobile ID has been a really great benefit for those that want to utilize it. Wait times are down to 10 or 15 minutes. So we've really taken a strategic approach on how we handle driver's license and trying to use technology as our friend to help people get through. And so that's been a real big asset. And again, saving time for the citizens of the state of Mississippi.
Yeah. I thought about you as last week I had to have an appointment and I had to have the ID and I just left the wallet at home because I wasn't driving. The better half was driving, but I didn't have it. And I thought, oh, I got my phone. I can verify this on the mobile, but I don't have that. I didn't put that in yet. But again, that mobile ID is available now, isn't it?
It's available, and still I encourage people to carry their physical ID because some states don't recognize that yet. TSA doesn't recognize that yet, and you certainly need to keep your physical ID when you're driving your vehicle.
Guys, thank you so very much. Good luck in the 2022 session, and whenever you need us, give us a call.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all.
You got it. Commissioner Sean Tindell, Department of Public Safety, and the Colonel Randy Ginn, again, Cadet Class 66. January 21st is the deadline, so do your thing if you want to go that direction.